You know, it's been a while. I wonder what the internet thinks about my Sonic 1 review. You know, maybe he's right. It's been like 3 months since I really made another video. Maybe I am copying JonTron. What do you think, Goldbirb? Hey everybody, welcome back to the Golden Bolt. This time around we're going to look at Sonic 2 on the Sega Genesis. And I got a bird with me. Because It's the summer of 1991. Sonic 1 just came out and is dominating the gaming world. Nobody can stop talking about the blue hedgehog except maybe you. You close a door for what you assume is the last time, leaving Sega and Sonic Team entirely over creative differences. Your name is Yuji Naka, and you're the lead designer behind the first Sonic game. Shortly afterwards, an American developer named Mark Cerny contacts you with a position in the US at Sega Technical Institute, with promises of better pay and more freedom. For one reason or another, you decide to take this job, and at the same time, your Sonic Team coworker Hirokazu Yasuhara joins you. By the end of this year, despite thinking you'd be done with Sonic, Sonic Team pretty much entirely moves to America to work with STI on Sonic 2. And guess who's taking the reins on programming? Naka's goal with Sonic 2 was to again push the bar technically, to wow even more people, and to show that Sonic was going to innovate. To this effect, Naka worked on creating special stages that were entirely in 3D. STI and Sonic Team worked to clean up the gameplay of the first game and add a playable partner for Sonic, and even Sega itself pushed to innovate, designing a massive simultaneous worldwide launch, the first of its kind. With the Genesis still holding its ground in spite of the Super Nintendo's rapidly growing base, Sega hammered in on the in-your-face ads, using the now infamous buzz phrase blast processing to describe what made the Genesis games faster. While long-term this probably hurt them, short-term it worked, with Sonic 2 becoming an overnight success, literally. Releasing across most of the world on Sonic Tuesday on November 24th, 1992, within a week it had almost crossed 500,000 sales. The blue blur was here to stay. Second verse, same as the first. Sonic 2's plot is more or less identical to the first game, with Robotnik trying to find all 7 Chaos Emeralds. And actually 7 this time, not 6 like in Sonic 1. And he's even building a giant Death Star named the Death Egg, because his name's Eggman. This time around though, Sonic's not alone, as his new friend Miles Prower, better known as Tails, is tagging along. That's pretty much it, though like its predecessor, Sonic 2 also has a special ending if you collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds, and it's more or less the same as the regular ending. You guys know the drill by this point, but I'm not going to give a rating to the story of this game, seeing as it's an early 90s 2D platformer and the story was clearly not the focus. While the plots may be similar, I can happily say that Sonic 2 is not just more Sonic 1. The game's faster, cleaner, smoother, platform-y-er. There is nothing in my opinion from the first game that compares. From the addition of boost pads to these gorgeous looking corkscrews that Sonic will run through, Sonic Team made sure that you as a player would be able to blow through levels and feel super cool while doing it. Yes, there certainly are a few times where you're still going to be standing there waiting, looking at you, Chemical Plant, but this perverse focus on waiting is thrown out the window. This is shown off immediately with the addition of Sonic's new move, the Spin Dash. By holding down on the D-pad and pressing the jump button, Sonic will curl into a ball and rev up. When you let go, he's off to the races. This alone would have made Sonic 2 a night and day difference from Sonic 1. Now at any given point, if you want to inject some speed into Sonic's veins, maybe I shouldn't word it that way, you can spin dash and any thoughts you had about the game being too slow are left in the dust. However, Sonic Team didn't stop there. They clearly put a huge amount of effort into making each and every level feel fluid, while keeping the platforming and hidden items that made Sonic 1 feel a little bit charming. There are still multiple paths, and you're rewarded for speeding through the challenging upper paths, but it's not a punishment if you can't keep up either. And that's one of the defining things about Sonic 2 that makes it a great game for everybody. When speed is promised, as Sega liked to do at the time, speed is expected, but Sonic 2 gives you the option to dial it back without hurting the players that want to push the Genesis to its limits. I think this is shown magically in some of the game's automated sections, like these tube sections in Chemical Plant. A, it's a great way to expand level design without actually going through the work of directly transitioning from section to section. B, it helps newer, less experienced players feel like they're making progress and quickly, while also giving them a breather. And C, come on, they just look cool. I honestly don't feel that any given level in this game is too slow, and I look back fondly at almost every level because of that. Like I said, there are moments where the game starts to fall back into old, questionable habits, but they're very concentrated. The only one I ever felt was an issue was this spot in Chemical Plant, where you're forced to wait while also dealing with the panic of, oh my god, I'm gonna drown, please move faster platforms, dear god, please. Well, and this pit in Mystic Cave Zone that's guaranteed death, and I guess anything involving the slicer enemies, but I'll save that for later. My point is, while this game dabbles with making the player wait, those cases are very few and far between. To make up for how fast you're going to be blasting through the levels, each level is significantly longer, which to me makes them all the more memorable. To counteract this, there are only 2 acts in each zone, as opposed to the 3 act in the first game. Levels don't really overstay their welcomes like I felt they did in Sonic 1, they usually stay just the perfect amount of time and then move on. Sadly, not everything is perfect like that. The special stages did not click with me. I know, I wasn't good at the first game's special stages either, and these are a little better in that regard, but they're still off to me. Instead of getting a shot at the Chaos Emeralds once at the end of each act, you can now get a shot anytime you cross a checkpoint, provided you have 50 rings. If you do, just jump into this little portal and off you go into a fully 3D half-pipe. You need to get the required amount of rings in each section of the special stage, and if you do, boom, free emerald. To me, the controls in these just don't feel right. Sonic controls pretty loosely, and Tails, what the f*** are you doing? He just lags behind Sonic, his movements coming in delayed by just enough after you press the button that he smacks the damn spikes every single time as if he's in love with them or something. I know, maybe I shouldn't have Tails with me then. You can choose between playing just as Sonic, just as Tails, or Sonic with Tails following him around. I personally like having Tails around because in my experience, he really likes to demolish Robotnik for me, and I naturally get reckless during the boss fights for some reason, so the sooner they're done, the better. Plus, if I have a buddy around, I can plug in a second controller and my friend can control Tails and destroy everything. Especially the slicers. F*** the slicers. Of all the new things in this game, the slicers are truly the one that I hate the most. They're consistently placed in the most difficult, unfair spots in Metropolis Zone, an already irritating level by itself sometimes, and their stupid boomerang attack just screws up my day. Thankfully, there aren't many of them, but they do a great job at bringing the pace to a crawl just before the last few levels where it slows to a halt. The final level in particular, Death Egg Zone, just bugs the crap out of me to the point that I may or may not have actually beaten the game for this review. You're tasked with getting through 2 boss fights, Mecha Sonic and the Death Egg Robot, with 0 rings. That's easier said than done considering the Death Egg Robot will kill you if you're just a frame out of place, and with limited lives this can get pretty damn tense. This section just feels incredibly unfitting to the rest of the game, where things feel lighthearted, open, and fun. While there's certainly something to be said about the underlying themes behind this level, putting Sonic and by extension the player alone and truly challenging them tests their character more than the entire journey before it, I don't feel it works in terms of gameplay. The required perfection just irritates me. Even if I had just 2 rings, 1 floating in each fight, I would be cool with this. I'd prefer I had 50 rings for that level though, because if you obtain all 7 Chaos Emeralds and have 50 rings on you, by jumping in the air you'll transform into Super Sonic, a blazing fast, unbeatable speed demon. Well, unbeatable by everything except that pit in Mystic Cave. You've just gotta remember to be careful though, as your rings deplete over time in Supersonic form and you can't turn it off. If you run out, you lose a life. Actually, you can't really choose whether or not to turn it on either, since it's just activated by jumping, so that's kind of an oversight. Now, I'll admit, just like with Mario 3, the first time I played Sonic 2, I didn't really get it. I respected how much improvement there was over Sonic 1, but the level design just didn't click to me. Now, having played them back to back, and really stepping back and seeing all these changes in action, I can genuinely say that I love Sonic 2 from a gameplay standpoint. It's not without its problems, clearly, but this is a game I could recommend that anybody give a shot. It does a great job encouraging all playstyles while simultaneously making sure not to hinder anybody either. Whether you're the Sonic aficionado or the annoying little brother that just wants to tag along, this game has a spot for you. Hell, it's even got split-screen multiplayer that I didn't even touch on yet. I do think that some of the game's issues are still rooted in this arcade mentality of make the game hard right at the end just so it adds length, and the last chunk of the game sours significantly as a result. I want to give this game a golden bolt for all the highs it has, but the lows are there and they do detract, so I'm going to give the gameplay of Sonic 2 a silver bolt. If Sonic 1's presentation was superb, Sonic 2's is magnificent. Everything feels a little more on the crisp side, from the sprite work to the level terrain itself. This game just pops in every way for me. In particular, I'm going to gush about the levels because they feel so distinct. Yeah, Emerald Hill is just more Green Hill, and yeah, Metropolis Zone feels kind of bland, but the rest of the locales just manage to wow me consistently. I praised Sonic 1 heavily for making every level feel visually distinct, so perhaps you could consider it a negative that some zones feel bland or less than original, but the high points of this game very much counteract that. I can't praise something like Chemical Plant Zone enough for just totally ignoring platforming trends and trying to be different. And as much as I may dislike the special stages themselves, for the time, they look really friggin' good and absolutely blew some minds back in the day. I can appreciate something like Sky Chase or Wing Fortress going for this cinematic action movie vibe in Sonic 2, the likes of which we really wouldn't see for years in other games. For as much as people like to knock on him nowadays for trying too hard to be cool, Sonic at this point, he was pretty damn cool for things like this. And I really don't need to say it, but ooh, the music! Again, each zone's theme feels totally distinct and matches the vibe of the level it plays over, both in terms of visuals and gameplay. While there are still one or two things I don't absolutely love, I find myself more and more engaged by Sonic 2's soundtrack the more I listen to it. Sonic 2 manages to surpass the first game in every respect when it comes to presentation, which is no easy task. Golden Bolt here, easily. With the exception of a well-intended but questionably spotty ending sequence, Sonic 2 is a killer game. The development team really went all in on that speed-focused style that Sega had already been marketing the franchise as for a year, and it absolutely paid off here. If you ever looked at Sonic during his darker period and wondered what people saw in the blue blur, look right here, because I have no qualms in saying that this is a game that can easily hold its own against the best in the genre. There's still room for improvement though, but Sonic Team would have to dig very deep to unearth another gem. Get it? Because Knuckles, unlike Sonic, they don't chuckle, even though he chuckles right there. So he's a liar. Subscribe. Alright, seems like it's about time to close off this retrospective, so join me next time when we tackle a twofer, both Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles. As always, thanks for watching everybody. If you liked the video, be sure to... Ow! Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, and if you want to see more, make sure you subscribe. And as always everybody, stay golden.